What's up, everybody? Welcome to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and we're back again with another Friday stream where we get together as a community and talk about whatever topic I've come up with for the week. And this week is not exactly the same as usual because we're actually going to be working on the Spring Lisp Game Jam. But we'll talk about that more in a minute once my brain-to-mouth interface finally boots up and is activated correctly. Let's see. Let's let some people filter in before I start saying hello. Unfortunately, the producer, Ashraz, can't be here today, so we're going to have to stumble along without his help, which is terrible because the only way this stream can ever really operate effectively is if Ashraz is here. So if anything goes wrong, we'll just blame LeftPad. And by association, we'll be blaming Ashraz. Just kidding, Ashraz. Thank you for your help. Don't mean to sound ungrateful or anything. I'm extremely grateful for your help. Have a nice evening doing whatever it is you're doing. Probably something a lot more interesting than sitting here copying chat messages from YouTube over to IRC. So let's see. Let me get this thing pulled up correctly. I didn't actually start a show notes file until just now, like literally as I clicked start streaming. I had to create this file, so let's just get it started. Crafting a game with Guile and Goblins. That is the topic for today. Let me use default text scale increase to bump this up a little bit. I'll switch buffers. Whoops. Yeah, let's kill that buffer too. This is May 9th, 2025, in case you don't know what day it is, because I sure don't. I mean, you know, life just keeps going on and on. We're almost halfway through 2025 by this point, which is kind of shocking if you think about it. I mean, good God, where did the year go? I felt like it was New Year's Eve and New Year's maybe 2 weeks ago, and now it's the middle of May. So that's just the way it is, I guess. You get older and time just flies by. You get into like a little time warp where you know, you just get sucked into your little turtle shell. I don't know why I use that as a metaphor, but you just kind of hunker down and then time just flies right by you. But that's okay, because we're here now, and we're gonna have some fun working on some scheme code. Let me see. Let's see. Yeah, you got it. Okay. So I'll say hello to the folks who are here so far. I see Fade, Blinky Bob, Trev Dev, J Fred, Fear for Us, DPX001 over on the YouTube side. If you're on the chat, wow, is the video really choppy or is it just me? Anyway, I saw it get super choppy on the YouTube feed for a second. So let me know if there's any choppiness, and I'll see if I can do something about it. So on Wednesday, we had a Crafter Hour stream where I actually started working on the sort of the application shell for the Spring Lisp Game Jam game that we're going to be working on. And let me pull up that page, Spring Lisp Game Jam 2025. This just started today. And it is, like I've been talking about it for the last few weeks, it's basically a 10-day game jam where you use a Lisp of your choice to work on a game, preferably from scratch, but you can start with an existing game so long as the code was open source before the jam started. But generally speaking, it's supposed to be created from scratch. In my case, we started on Wednesday just getting the basic code for the application set up so that we have a base to start with to work on the game. So we haven't started working on the game code per se, but we did get something set up so that we can start building the game immediately as soon as the jam started, which is now. So if you go to codeberg.org/systemcrafters/goblin-mud, you will see the code that we have so far. There's one commit that was 2 days ago. I should probably put a license on here. This will be presumably GPL license. Why not? You know, like there's really no reason not to. But this is a web-based MUD written in Guile with Fibers, which is a concurrency framework, sort of like Go channels, but it kind of has a lot more to it than that. And Goblins, Spritely Goblins, which we've talked about quite a few times on the channel. We did a stream last week showing how to use Goblins. And after that stream, I felt pretty comfortable like actually writing Goblins code. So I wanted to try to use it for this project. And on Wednesday, we did get the basic game engine framework set up with Goblins. So that was pretty fun. We're gonna have a lot more fun writing specific Goblin-specific code today. Everything else is kind of ready. So now we're gonna write the actual game code with Goblins. And also we're using Datastar for the UI. So basically this means that there is no client-side code component to this. So it's a browser game, but all the HTML is being generated on the server, and all the interactivity is coming from this Datastar library. So we have specially annotated HTML fragments that we send from the server to the client, and then that causes the Datastar library to wire things up and then do things on our behalf. So I don't have to write any JavaScript on the client. We're also not using Guile Hoot on the client this time. The last few times we did game jams, I used Guile Hoot, which is a scheme to WebAssembly compiler, but we're not. I saw that fade. But we're not going to use anything on the client side this time because we've been using this Datastar framework for a couple projects so far on the Crafter Hours streams, and I've been pretty happy with it. And I wanted to sort of see how it would work for something like this because it's a game that requires you to have kind of an event feed, things happening, things being pushed from the server back to the client. And I just kind of wanted to see how it would go. And I think you'll see in a second that we've got a pretty good foundation for doing this. TrevDev says, this jam is amazing, and I'm envious of any of you who can make space for it. Yeah, I'm barely making space for it. I won't have so much time this time to work on it. But I'm going to have fun. We're going to have fun in the time that I do have. Fade says, hey, Glenn. Fade says, wow, like everything is prepared before the stream even started? Is this really you? Yeah, it is. And I actually literally started on time today at 6 o'clock my time. So yay for me, yay. The reason why I wanted to get the framework set up on Wednesday is so we could jump right in today, if I don't waste too much time talking, to start working on the actual game, because we only have this stream and 3 streams next week to work on this, about 2 hours each, okay? So we need to get a game working that people can play on the internet with each other, published to a server where you can actually access it in a browser. You know, there's quite a number of things that need to happen here, so we need to kind of hit the ground running and make progress. We're gonna see what we can do. There's some interesting stuff involved that we'll get to whenever the time comes. But at least today, we're going to get the basic game world set up, some game objects, and have a player be able to walk around in the world. And that should be a good starting point. We may even be able to get it so that you can have 2 browser tabs open and have two players in the game simultaneously. And I have a kind of specific model in mind that I want to go for with this, just to make it really simple to jump in and play and not, you know, have to... create an account that lasts forever. This is not going to be... Okay, I saw a question from Erky, I think. No, it's from DPX over on the YouTube side. MUD is multi-user domain. It's multi-user dungeon. So if you... Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. If you don't know what a MUD is basically a text-based role-playing game that you can play with other people over the internet. You type in commands, almost like an adventure game like Zork, but the other people can also be in the game with you at the same time. They were a very popular type of game back in the 80s and 90s because most people didn't have, you know, super-powered computers that could do 3D graphics, et cetera, et cetera. You would just telnet into a server or dial into a BBS, and you would play this sort of game with other people over text. So we're bringing that old model to the browser, and we're going to have a nice, prettier version of it. It's not going to be super pretty because I'm making it, but we're going to have a nicer looking version of it that's still the same concept. It's just text, and then you type in commands and things happen in the world. But because we have a browser, we have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, we can do some other interesting things in the UI. So we're going to experiment and see what we can come up with for that. But it's really just going to be a normal type of MUD. And we're going to try to scope it down so that something can be done in the time of this game jam. Fade says, are you accepting PRs? I don't know. I'll have to look at the rules, okay? Let me look into it. I probably can, but I don't exactly know, like... I mean, I don't have problems accepting PRs. If people want to submit PRs, that's great. I don't know how it works in terms of, like, attribution for the jam. Maybe we're just a team. Maybe we're all a team. You can contribute if you want to. It would actually be really great if people did contribute, like game content. You know, I could write the framework and people could contribute to the framework, but if people could contribute game content, that would be cool. Let me think about it, okay? Let me think about how I want to do that. We'll look into it, because I think that would be fun. If people could contribute, like, you know, rooms and characters and stuff, that might actually help to move things along a little bit better. So we'll look into it for sure. That's a great suggestion, actually, Fade. All right. So let me check the chat. J. Fred says, I wish I had a little more time for it. Not prepared this time around. Hey, Peter. Trev says, I saw it and blinked. Now it's today. Kid, job, wife, etc. Yes, exactly. Trev says, the only reason I'm able to be here live is time set aside to update my ledgers. Well, you know, sometimes you got to update your ledgers. 1 second. Muck or mud or mud. Muck or mud. Yeah, there's a concept of a muck and a mush. There's all kinds of like weird things that are out there in the world. Let's see. Cal says, I'm woozy from trying to get things started. Well, you're using hoot, which can be a real hoot. Sometimes things don't work the way you expect them to, but you know, it's fun. I like it. DPX says, sounds like an awesome project. It will be fun. Shestino says, I love your streams. That's why I follow you. I'd love to share some ideas to help you improve. Okay. I don't know if that's real. Because sometimes I get, you know, some spam in the Twitch chat, so you can never really be sure. All right. Peter says, terminal muds are underrated. Well, you know, every now and then I'll get nostalgic and want to go back and try an old Telnet style mud, but you know, it's really hard to get back into those things. All right, so we got the code set up. We have one commit here. Let me go ahead and just run it so you can see what we're working with. Let's go back to the Goblin Mud repo. vcdir. I'm going to run project compile. I'll run the dev server command, and that should start things up. All right, there we go. Localhost 8080. Whoop, that's not it, is it? Are we still waiting for it to start? Why is there a problem loading page? What did I do? How did I break it? We're compiling routes.scm, okay. Let me check proc because something weird is happening right now. So Guile is doing something that's taking 19% CPU. Okay, something's going on in routes.scm. This is really weird. So, wow. Should I just delete the cache? Because something's wrong here. Let's just grab this path. I'm kind of concerned that this is happening all of a sudden. Right there. So. What the hell? Now I'm getting real confused. All right, so Guile Ccache. What? ReOle home David Will projects code Goblin Mud. All right. Maybe I should just delete that whole folder, huh? Because something weird is happening. I killed this before, I think. Okay, good. Let's kill that. Okay, I killed that. Let me just restart this because I have no idea what just happened. Seems wrong to me. All right, so why is it stopping? So this actually worked right before we stopped on Wednesday. Everything worked fine. So how to break it? So, you know, everybody was praising me for being so prepared, and now the preparation went out the window. All right, something else strange is happening. Let's just trace it back. Just go back to the scripts. Let me just make sure I'm doing the right thing. This is normal Bjorkage. Yeah, it seems normal, but I don't know what's going on actually. Site URL localhost. Geek shell, blah, 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 blah. That's all good. Start server. That's all good. I already had to restart this computer. Is the socket still bound in the other process? The other process should not be awake. It should be dead. It should be fully dead. Let's open up eat. PS ox rep Guile. I see mcron, I see shepherd, I see ungoogled chromium being run. Yeah, so it's not there. So WTF, mate. And then when I run it again, it seems to recompile different stuff. It says compiling source, server, and routes. And I never see it get to the point where it starts the server. So if I go to the server.scm, listening on locals, it never reaches this point because it never starts. I don't think it's listening out. It never gets there. Like the socket never gets started up. So we're gonna turn autocompile off, okay? Because this is starting to freak me out a little bit. Let's go into dev server. We're gonna run start server. Yeah, and start server. We're gonna take the. We're gonna put that no autocompile flag in. Okay, let's try that. Okay, I feel like something is blocking. Maybe I changed something at the very end of the last stream. All right, let's get some logs in here because something really bizarre is going on. In start server, let's see, display before REPL startup. Doesn't make it at that point. Yep, that's what I'm doing there, Fade. All right, so that's start server. That's literally the entry point. So I have no idea how we could not made it to that point at all. Scripts start server.scm. Guile main. Maybe I should try to do things a little bit manually. Are the envars returning nil? They shouldn't be. So go, let's see. If I just paste that straight in. All right, let's take this other thing back out. I'm really confused. I'm extremely confused. We're off to an excellent start. Okay, so at least it gets back to that point where it starts trying to compile things again. So I think it's doing stuff. It's getting to a point where it's trying to run something, but it never actually gets in. So Guile main, it tries to execute the main procedure, never gets to this display, the before REPL startup for some reason. Am I in the right place? I mean, this is insane. Okay. We're not even pulling in goblins yet. Let's go back to... What's the parameter for that? Sorry, folks, this is very strange. Like, I should have tried to run it before the stream started, but I would not have guessed this would happen. And this really doesn't make any sense at all. Can I break on main? It's not hitting main, dude. Like, it literally does not even get to the point where it loads the whole thing. Fresh autocompile. Let's go to dev server. No. We're gonna do it right here. Fresh autocompile. I just want to see what it does. I'll turn on keycast. Tab bar mode. All right, so I see Goblins gets pulled in on engine. So maybe something in engine is happening. Let me check this out. Is it? Oh, you know what? I've never started the app up after I did this, after I started the engine vat. Okay, I'll bet money that's what the problem is. 100% bet that's what's happening. So let me also comment this out. It's probably going to give me errors in other places, and we're going to have to go back and initialize everything properly. So I'm going to recompile. Yep. All right. So that is what I thought. So it turns out we are actually starting up Goblins. And I think it's blocking the main thread because it's setting up fibers, and I think it's getting set up in the main thread and it's being blocked. So I need to set this up thoughtfully. When we were doing this on Wednesday, we were developing it within the REPL, and we built all the Goblin stuff in the REPL after it was already started, after the process was already started. So we didn't have the problem of it blocking. Excuse me. So I think what happened is that we spawned the VAT, and somehow it blocked the server from being started up. So what we need to do is define public init engine, we could say, and then set engine VAT, spawn VAT. We could also create the initial player at that moment. So check this out. Yes, it is definitely where REPL-driven development can confuse you. That's right, TrevDev. Because you could do things in the REPL that work just great, and as soon as you try to restart the application, things don't work right because it was all dependent on the state that the program was in at the time that you were evaluating things. So that's real fun. This test player thing also needs to go away because that's not how things are going to go in the long term, but we'll just leave it here for now, and I'm going to initialize that inside of that init engine procedure as well. We'll set that here too. So set test player, make player F test player. We'll just redo that. That's fine. Okay, so now we got that set too. We're going to make this be a false and then just delete those lines. We don't need engine VAT to be public because that's all hidden behind everything here. Okay. So now I should be able to restart. I'm not calling the initialization yet. Where is this at? That shouldn't be in there. Get out of here. Okay, routes. FG color. Interesting. I don't know. Oh, that was also defined too. Another little issue. Okay, so probably should do some theming on this. We'll see. FG color. All right, and then test player is right here. So the weird thing about the way that the web server for Goblins is started up is that we call run server. And the thing about run server is that it sets up fibers for you. And I don't know if there's a way to set or to spawn another fiber separately from that beforehand to run this stuff. Hey, Fikri. All right, so Guile fibers. Let's just take a look at the docs real quick. It's in the wiki. There's a manual right there. Spawn fiber. Okay, so run fibers. Can I call run fibers more than once? I guess so, right? Is that cool? So if I run fibers, and then wait, so what does run fibers do? Run init thunk within a fiber in a fresh scheduler, blocking until init thunk returns. Return the values returned by the call to init thunk. So in addition to that, let me check the actual code, because I need to make sure that I'm not going to do something stupid here, which, you know, we're going to do a lot of stupid things, but let's just try not to do something stupid like that. So fibers web server start, or what was it? Run fibers. All right, so we have in the start or the run server procedure, eventually they call run fibers with a lambda, spawn fiber, wait finished. So maybe I can do that over here as well. I just hope it doesn't cause problems. So run fibers with a lambda that then calls init engine. All right, let's see if this works. I don't exactly know if it's going to work, but we're about to find out. I also need to pull in Goblin Mud Engine to do that. And I'm going to go back to engine. I'm going to rename this procedure because I should have used a bang here because it's basically mutating things. And it's public now. So I can restart and see if it runs. No current syscaller. All right, so fibers SCM init engine spawn. Let me see what's going on there. We call spawn vat. Let me check the Goblins documentation too, just in case. All right. So the docs. Pleasures of green threads. Yeah, well, you gotta have the right starting point, otherwise it doesn't work. Okay, so VAT's overview. See make VAT. What does spawn VAT do? Maybe that's a good thing to look at. Codeberg.org Spritely Goblins. This is what we do half the time here. We just go and dig around. Go dig around. Goblins. What was that module? Just goblins? Just goblins. Got to go up one level and then go to goblins.scm. Where are you? Right there. All right, so goblins make vat, actually spawn vat. And we are re-exporting probably from goblins vat. Okay, fine. So then goblins vat, spawn vat. There's a bit of stuff going on in here. So we're even using some continuations here. Syscaller free fiber. Where's that even coming from? All right, so spawn fiber is being called down in here. Make vat. And where is make vat? Make vat. All right, return to new vat. Vat behavior is determined by 3 start hooks. I don't really want to have to be writing all this stuff myself, though. So is it possible that I could do this the other way? All right, let's just see. Let's just see. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Roman says, I think you need to call make player within the context of InjaVat. I'm doing that, but wait, hold on. Did I not do that? Damn it. Okay. Roman is correct. Thank you, Roman. I think you're right. That's 100% correct. So with VAT, engine VAT. That is absolutely right. I missed that whenever I move things over. All right, so let's try that then. We didn't change anything about server. We're still using run fibers. All right, that seems okay. And we're gonna go reload the page, and there it is. Welcome to Goblin Mud. All right, so this is a starting point where we ended up on Wednesday. Basic screen, where in theory you should be able to type in a command, which does nothing right now, like literally does nothing. I just type in foo, and it says test player enter command foo, bar. The thing is, when you put this command in, it actually is getting sent through goblins. So let me just show you sort of how this all works up until now so that everybody's on the same page and you can kind of follow along with what we do next. So whenever you reach the main page, if you go to routes.scm, we're looking at the main view. Main view is defined in views.scm. It is just a procedure that returns a big HTML document, not really big, using SXML to XML, loads up data star, sets up the font and the CSS, no big deal. And then it just sets up the basic layout for this whole thing. So one is the big sort of event list here, and then there's the command input at the bottom. So if you see, we have the div, which is the game view. We have a div, which is the event feed. This is on an interval, on a 1 second interval, it is making calls to the /events backend. Unfortunately, because Guile hasn't implemented its core web server API in a way that is amenable to streaming responses, I'm having to just use a polling setup right now. In a more efficient form of this game, you would actually have a long-lived connection where you would just constantly be pushing back events on the same connection. But for now, we're just going to be doing polling, and whatever events are available for the user will be sent back whenever they pull this events endpoint. Then for command input, it's just a normal input box. Whenever they press enter, it's going to send that command over to the /command endpoint. So if you go back into routes.scm, we're going to see that we have events and command. Whenever events gets invoked, it's going to call the poll events procedure. And that poll events procedure kind of gets all the information out of the request at first, and then it loops over the list of events for the user. So we can see right here, look, we look for the session ID, which is part of the state that's on the web page. We then, where is session ID? Okay, we're not actually using that yet. We send a message synchronously to the engine for the test player. We send a message to the test player to say, give me the events for this player. So there's an actor running for the current player, which we'll take a look at in a second, which accepts a number of events or a number of messages, let's say. One of them is get events, and it just pulls a list of events that are waiting and then returns them back as fragments. It just turns them into, actually they already are HTML fragments. Those events are represented as HTML fragments. So anything that gets added as a fragment gets sent back to the client and displayed. Okay, so that doesn't really probably tell you a whole lot right now. You'll see a bit more about that later. Then there's the handle command part, which also sends a message to the player. So send message, this is asynchronous, and it sends the message to the player to handle the command, a specific command, and that sort of puts the command into the overall engine. This may not be the best design. It's what we're starting with right now, and we'll try to like improve things as we go. So in the engine itself, we've only defined one actor so far called player, okay? We use the define actor syntax for that. We define the player actor, and then we use the methods syntax to define the list of methods, or basically the list of messages that this actor responds to. We see get events that we talked about before, which basically just takes this list of pending events, reverses it because we're sort of just consting things onto the front. We reverse that list and we just send it back. Then for pushing event, we can push any kind of event onto the pending events list. So wherever things are happening in the game, if the player receives an event, it pushes it onto its events list for the next time that the events endpoint is called. You get the events back. And then we have handle command also, which calls into this handle player command procedure, which is right here. Let's see. Right now, it's just simply pushing an event to say that the player entered the command. So you can kind of see here what the push event looks like. We're sending a synchronous message to the actor. The message is called push event. We're literally just sending a list that represents a div that's going to be inserted into the UI. So it's really, really cheesy, really gross, but it works. And we will continue to improve on this model as we go. Like the whole point was just to get something started so that we can start implementing game behavior. All right, so do you feel like you know where we're at currently and that we can kind of start working on features? Because I think that it's time to start working on something real. In the engine, let me just write some notes about what we need. What we need. We need an actor, or let's say, yeah, these are all going to be actors pretty much. A room actor. So a room is going to have things like players that are, let's say, entities present. Infreak says CSS in a mud. Interesting. Yes, well, we're going to have some nice presentation for things whenever we start getting into it, I think. So entities present, items, exits, description, other stuff like that. So we'll need a nice little way to describe a room, but the room itself needs, each room will be its own actor. It will respond to messages. So let's say the player wants to get an item that's sitting on the floor in the room. A command comes in that the user types a command, the user types a command, presses enter. That gets sent to the player actor to get processed and turned into some kind of event that gets sent somewhere else. So in this case, it would be a message that gets sent to the room asking to get an item. That would be a synchronous message being sent to ask for the item. And then whenever that item is given back, then the message gets written out. But there's some other things that need to happen. Basically, we have independent actors that are doing message passing to implement the behavior that we need for all this. So a room will be an actor. We need a general entity, which can either be a player, an NPC, etc. Could even be an item. I don't know. We might generalize it further. We need an item of some sort that could respond to things that may still be an entity. We'll have to see, because they may all have the same kind of behavior. Things that can be interacted with. Okay. What else? What else did I say? I mean, that's kind of it for the moment. Rooms, entities, and items. And then other stuff that we'll need for facilitating the actual behavior of the game, but we'll figure that out as we go. So if I were to define an actor for a room, I've got some interesting ideas on how to deal with behaviors in the game too, which I think fits into how Goblins works pretty nicely. So we'll talk about that in a bit too. So for the room, do we need an ID? I'm trying to think of like if you actually have actors initialized, objects in the game, let's say. You don't really need IDs so much because you have direct references to the running actor. So perhaps we don't need to have IDs for rooms. We'll just start without it for now. The room can have a name, can have a description. In fact, how about we do it this way? We're going to use keys. Name, description. Let's see, what else? Name, description. For exits, we could do exits. And exits would be, don't the rooms form the spine of the game? Yes, they do. So for exits, that would be basically an A-list. Actually, it wouldn't be well, it would be an A-list because it would have to be keyed by the cardinal directions, I think. All right, so we have the exits, which would be an A-list. What else? Items. Like the initial list of items that are there. Let's start with that. Self, this room, because we probably need that. And then for everything else, like the other information that are needed, Jayford says, direct references to the other rooms feels like the more OCAPy way of doing it. Yeah, I agree. It kind of feels like you want that. Because you're supposed to be directly communicating with the other game objects. You pretty much need to define the nodes in the exits. Well, I think that we would do the node definitions to some level. We might predefine some of them. It really just depends on how everything gets wired up. It's definitely a graph. A references to something related to the other rooms anyway. Yeah. So, what methods would we need for this? Player enter. No. So I think that kind of makes sense. Fearful says, wouldn't it be neat to go directly to rooms instead of traversing through each room towards your target? Well, I mean, you kind of have to have a world to traverse in a way, but maybe a magician type character, a mage type character could do that under some circumstances. Okay, we're just going to kind of cheese this a little bit first. I also should say that we're not really leveraging goblins to its greatest capability in this game. We're sort of just using the actor model aspect of goblins to do this. But maybe as I start to understand better how to write goblins code, we'll use goblins more to its real benefit. So, entity enter. We might want to have something like a get details. Because you need a way to get the details of the room whenever you need to display that to a user. And thinking about transactionality, I don't know how much we really want to use transactionality in the game. And when I say that, what I mean is whenever you attempt to do something in the game and an error gets raised, how much does it matter whether the previous state of all actors involved in the transaction, the things that are changing, how much does it matter that they get rolled back? Does it really matter at all? Should we worry about that? I think maybe not, but we might evolve our understanding of that as time goes on. Fade says, on a small graph, keeping a pre-calculated path from whatever room to other labeled places would be almost trivial. Yeah, maybe. But you could also just teleport directly to a room, you know, if you knew what the room was. All right, so that's a basic room actor. That's not really very compelling, for sure. For initialization, we could just have a basic room to start with. Let's just get started and try to make some stuff. So inside of this vat, I don't like the fact that I probably need to set up something for Emacs to have it indent the code correctly when calling with vat, but whatever. I'm not really that concerned about it right now. Fade says, if the player teleports, how will the GRU in the living room eat him? Well, I guess, you know, that's just a problem the GRU is going to have to solve, you know. Set starting room. Did I create the make player function? Yeah, apparently I did. Spawn room. I probably need a function for that too. So make room. So can I do args like that? I don't really want to have to remake all the same keyword args, but maybe the make function could be the one that has the keyword args. We're going to define this with define star, and then we're going to go export it. Sorry, export make room. All right, so make room. I don't know where else we will have all this, but we probably need a way to have modules that represent different areas of the game so that it's easier to kind of keep things localized into one source file. Because I don't actually want to have like a file format or something for all the game data. I'm just going to have everything be in code, because why not just have it be in code? So everything will be in code. Thanks for dropping by, JFred. In fact, JFred, I saw one of your recent blog posts about using goblins. It was really cool. All right, so make room. We're gonna spawn. I mean, I suppose I could just wrap all this stuff in with that and have it do it itself, but kind of, I don't know if that's the right thing to do. All right, so we have make room now. So now I could actually use make room. Let's see, how about this? World slash just I'm trying to think like what I would call this. It's not like a lobby. I'm just trying to find like the what is the best way to talk about like the place a person lands when they first start playing the game. The foyer. Whatever. Define module. I should probably connect the REPL too. So geyser connect. Uh-oh. There it is. Okay, good. All right, so Goblin Mud World Foyer. Lobby, yeah. Goblin Mud Engine. There we go. Starting area. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, but it sounds a little bit too plain. So, define public starting room, make room, name, it's terrible, awful. And I'm thinking about making this actually be Markdown formatted, because we can easily use Common Mark to turn it into HTML. So I'll think about that, but maybe it's not really needed at first. You're standing in a cozy room. With a roaring fireplace. Okay, I don't know. I'm terrible at this, so you're gonna have to forgive me for being really bad at writing stuff for these games. That's a starting point. This is a starting room. Let me actually go back to engine. I'm gonna reeval the stuff in here. Okay, unmatched bracket, starting room. I might need to actually do that. All right, let's do this. Let's do it this way with that. Engine that. What I'm doing is probably verboten in terms of goblins, but that's fine. Do we need starting room? Maybe we do. Actually, yeah, let's not do that. We want to init the engine. We're not going to have the player, because that needs to happen whenever someone logs into the game with an active session. We should create a new session for them, and then that's when the player will get created. First stop, Armory. That's a great idea, Glenn. All right, so we're going to stick with the test player for now. And then we have our make room and make player. So in the routes, where are we going to have all this stuff slotted in? Maybe I should actually do the right initialization. So Infreak is giving some ideas. Actually not a bad idea. Vestibule. So what is the flow of this? The flow is a person loads the page. They get assigned a session ID. So I think what will happen is they hit the main view. Let's go to views. They hit the main view. And perhaps we need to look and see if there's currently a query parameter for the session ID. Let me look at the datastar docs. So datastar.dev. Can I get it to put something on the query string? Examples. URL. Replace URL from backend. There we go. So interacting with the history API is a common task, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so execute script. So if I do that, history replace state. Cool. So here's what I'm thinking. In the engine, we need an actor that can maintain all players. So sessions, like a session actor. And it doesn't really need any initialization. you just have a list inside of it. Methods. Create session. And then let's just say it needs to return something. Define actor is a macro or syntax. That's right. So what's going to happen is whenever the main view is loaded, if there isn't a query parameter for the session ID, then it's going to call into the session actor to create one. So that then there's a player actor associated with it. So what we need, this is an A-list mapping session ID to player actor. Okay. So if we're creating a session, Guile random. I just want to have it be like a number or something. It doesn't really need to be anything special. Random in. If I go to the REPL, can I just use it? Okay, so that's cool. There we go. That's probably good enough, right? I should probably seed that, but whatever. So we can create a session ID and we can push by consing. We're going to cons. Oh, an ID and name. We don't really have that yet. That doesn't matter. So a player doesn't necessarily have to be identified with a name or even an ID. But I guess ID is a session ID, so that's fine. So let's take the name out. Because I'm thinking about decoupling the concept of a player from an entity. So that a player could play any entity, even a player entity. So let's see, player ID name. Where were you using name? Name. Yeah, we don't need that. Handle command, actor ID name. So here, this would be ID. Do we need to have ID though? Because we already have a handle to the actor. That's fine. Okay, so we have session ID that the player is associated with. And then player, make player session ID. Okay, so we're going to do let's star this. We would have to do some persistence, obviously, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. Maybe a little bit later. If the server restarts, then everybody loses their stuff. That's okay, because I'm thinking that to make this game such a short loop that you wouldn't really worry too much about losing your player anyway. It's almost like a net hack type situation where you would start a new player just for fun and go do some stuff in the world and not really think too much about it. It's a jam game after all. It has to be simple. Okay, so we're gonna set active sessions. We're gonna const of session ID and player onto the front of active sessions. Okay. So that should do that. That saves a session. Then for expire session ID, we will just remove it. What is the command for that? So Guile Surfy1. Maybe Surfy1 has it. Deleting. I saw association list there. A-list delete, key A-list. All right, so set active sessions. I know there's a mutation version of that in there, but I kind of don't like that, so I'm not going to mess with it. A-list delete. And that's the key from the A-list. Session ID active sessions. Then close all that out. Get rid of that. Guile Surfy 1. Surfy 1. Cool. Define active sessions. What did I do wrong there? What didn't you like? Oh, define action? Come on now. Wrong number of arguments to make player. Make player. There we go. It's not test player anymore. Yeah, in fact, what we need to do is make a session. So we make the session, then we return the player. Is that right? Got it. Okay. So we're not really making a player. We're making a session. We're going to spawn. Wait a second, hold on. We got a session. We need the session actors set up already. So define sessions. False. Test player needs to go away. Test player here needs to go away too. But here's set sessions. Same thing. It needs to be with that. And then we're going to set sessions to be spawn. Okay. There we go. This can go back to... Yeah, okay, still make session. So with that, engine vat, we're going to send a message synchronously to the sessions actor to say create session, or maybe I should just say make session. Okay, make session. And that doesn't require a parameter, right? Don't think so. Okay, so we got that. Maybe it's overkill what I'm doing right now, but whatever. Sessions, make session. And that will return the actual session object. Sorry, the player object. Yes, technically it's making a player. So player is not necessarily the best command for this. Sorry, actor name, whatever. That's fine. We'll change things as we go. That's just the way I like to do it. All right, so with that engine vat, sessions, make session, I ran the code. Wrong number of arguments to handle player command. This player ID. Okay, ID actor name. We're not going to have name. And this is going to be ID instead. I don't really care. It's just a temporary placeholder. Unbound variable active session. Sessions, all right. Another active sessions. How did I do that? Hello to Goblin. Who knows who Goblin is? Or is that Coblin with a Q? Okay, so it looks like we are good on that. All right, init engine. We're gonna have to rerun some of this stuff anyway, because now we've got the, oh yeah. So back to where we started in server.sem. in the main server handler, this is the place where I would try to access the active session ID. And that would come from the query string parameters. So if I were to go back over to the web frame project, URI, URI query parameters. So let's do this. Request path request. I think that's the right thing. Boom. And now I think that make context actually takes a session ID. So if I go over to context, I go back over to context. Session. Okay, so there's session. Question is, do I need to store the session ID? Or actually get the player every time? Maybe I should just wait on that. So let's, first of all, get the session ID from the query params. I'm gonna use is it a sock ref? A sock ref key is gonna be session ID. And then, wait, alias is the first one, so query params. Okay, so now we have the session ID. In theory, I can write that out. So log info session ID. So ref query params session ID. I'm going to restart the server. Okay, so URI query parameters. I need to pull in so let's just see what errors I have here because I have a few. Possibly unbound variable in server. Did I not? Oh, is it query params? Is that what I did? Okay, fine. And unbound variable request path. I need use module web URI. Pretty sure. Will it have goblins? It should. Let's see. Guile web request. This request URI. Okay, fine. Unbound variable test player. That's in routes. Routes. Test player is used twice. Okay, so from session ID. Yeah, maybe we're gonna have to do it anyway. We'll see, we'll see. So session. Get session. Session ID. All right. There we go. Session, get session. Then we have that. Then test player is also here. We're gonna have to do the same thing. Session, get session, session ID. Handle command, and that's gonna get sent to session. Okay. Cool, that's good. And in engine, we need to make a get session ID. And this is going to be with vat engine vat. This is probably really wrong. I mean, like, what's the point of using all of this machinery just to do what I'm doing right now? It just feels kind of ridiculous. Later, it will make more sense. We're just trying to explore the model and understand how it can be best used. All right, so make session, get session, session ID, and we're just going to use a socref active sessions. And session ID needs to be a number. So string to number session ID, unless I keep it as a string. But maybe it's faster to do a comparison on number. So, all right, so socref active sessions, string to number session ID. That should be good enough. And I think that was all the errors I had run into so far. Make player engine, make player. So this needs to be make session. Unbound variable session, line 73. Let's see, sessions, all right. Restart. Wrong number of arguments to what? Make session. That's an engine 49. Make session requires no parameters. Make session with a session ID. All right, so that's good. I mean, actually, should make session not just do that itself? All right. Yeah or no? I mean, what's the value? Of creating a random session? And the make session event, I see. Okay. Wait, hold on. Okay. Yeah, this is wrong. This needs to be spawn player. And the player has what? BCom and ID. Okay. That's correct. That's the way to do it. Not a live reference. Not a live reference. Okay, so what happened here? If there's no active session, we shouldn't be trying to grab events. So if I go to routes, all this stuff like handle command probably needs to be somewhere else too, but not handle command, events. So let's see, events, session ID, let's see, or. So and session or empty. Just for the sake of sanity, let's try that. Stop that. Stop. Get out of here. There we go. Session ID false. Cool. Great. Now, if I go into Goblin Mud and press refresh, then it's fine. Now, if I were to go in and put in, well, I can't really put in a bogus session. What I want to do is inside of server, for session ID, it needs to be or. but that's not going to give us the ID. So what is make session going to do? Should we return the ID and not the player? Maybe that's the whole thing here. So session ID. Make session. Who's calling make session? Nobody. So it's me. There we go. Session ID is either we're going to pull the query parameter for session ID, excuse me, or we're going to make the session. And then we're going to use session ID here. And then for right here, we're going to use session ID. This is a little bit too compact. I probably need to have some intermediate stuff happening, but this is good enough for the moment, I think. Just to get things moving. So I'm going to restart. And it's going to create 1,000,000 sessions because there's going to be no query parameter, okay? So let me just kill that. I don't want it to create a bunch of sessions for no reason. What I want to do actually is on the response in main, so with output string, this is not actually a let me think, is there like an attribute I can use? I feel like there was something. Or, let's see. Replace URL, boom. Replaces the URL in the browser without loading the page. The value can be a relative or absolute URL and is an evaluated expression. So I think that in the initial page load, I think I can use data replace URL to put the session ID in there. So let's do that. I have access to context, which means I have access to context session. So in here, in the body, I could probably do this. Data replace URL equals, or not equals, format false / question mark session ID equals. And then this would be, oh, I need to unquote this as well. Context session context. That will seed the session ID for the user if it's not already there. And that will only happen once because we're not sending this whole thing back more than once. So let me restart. And then we'll see what we got. We need to reload the page. All right, we got a little error here. Context session. Oh, right. I need to pull in use module web frame context. Context. Okay. I'm going to restart the server again. Now, you reload the page. It didn't do that, though. Why didn't it put the thing on the page? Let me actually go check the inspector. Data replace URL. I mean, it put the stuff there. Why didn't it work? The question is, does it only happen? Does it only work whenever it's been being sent back in a fragment? It shouldn't. It should work anytime. Data replace URL. Should I put it in a div? Seems like it should work anywhere. Replace URL. Place the URL in the browser without reloading the page. Value can be a relative or absolute URL. It literally is not looking at that, it seems, because It's right here. Hello, Zed Shaw. Are you the Zed Shaw? So let's see. Data replace URL isn't doing the right thing. However, data persist is here. Wow. Well, welcome. Thank you for coming. So I have it set to persist the session ID, but maybe that actually isn't needed at the moment. I just find it weird that data replace URL is not working the way it's actually said. Maybe the first thing I can do on the first event call is set the session ID in the page using the other approach that was mentioned in here. So that was what URL, replace URL from backend. I don't really like this too much, and it just feels wrong. But let's just do it anyway, because I want something to work just to get it going. So how about this? In routes, in the event poll events, we're gonna do a merge fragment on, yeah, we got the loop already. Should only do this the first time, but for now we're just gonna have to suck it up and deal with it. So execute script. Let me also check web frame because I don't remember exactly. Data star. Execute script. Okay, so port and script. Got it. So we got port and we got the script that I want to execute, which is to basically run history replace state. That's going to be the same thing we just did. Session ID equals. Let me escape the question or the quotation marks a little bit. We're also going to want to format this, so I'm going to throw a little format. Manganese says, bro, single-handedly making the entire Guile documentation and tutorial. Nah. Okay. So session ID equals tilde A. Yep. And outside of the string, we're going to have context session context. So that should send it back and have that the script get executed, which I know seems kind of insane, but that's just one of the things you can do with Datastar. That's fine. Let me go back to main view. I'm going to take out the thing I already did here because clearly this is not going to work. Come on. All right. So let's restart. And now I'm going to reload the page. Where is it? Hey, session ID. Wait, it keeps loading a new one. What's going on here? I'm parsing the session ID. There ought to be one there. Okay. We're not just creating new sessions every time we hit the endpoint. Server.scm. So why am I not seeing it? Why am I not seeing it here? Let me also put the A list. Restart. Oh, so it's a Datastar session ID? I really don't want that right now. I also screwed up the query parameter. Fade says, make session isn't looking up the old session, it's generating them every time. No, well, it's not supposed to. It's not supposed to, because I'm already looking at whether there's a session ID here in the query params, but I screwed that up. And I wonder if, yeah, okay, there's a couple things going on here. The data persist might be biting me a little bit. I don't think I should do that. And then session ID is a signal. And I'm also not sure if I should do that, because it's supposed to be coming through the query string parameter. So maybe I'll just take that out. Hopefully false works on that. Let's just see. So let's restart. Wrong argument type, position 1, fine. I mean, what should it be? Get out of here. String to number, okay, got it. So there's nothing there to be parsed. That doesn't make sense. It's still putting the data star stuff in the... Okay, it's because of the command. All right, so let me think. Fine. We're rolling it back. So I think I know what to do here. We're going to put the signal back in. We need the signal. That's fine. We need the signal there. We're also going to get rid of the replace URL. Session ID, let's put that back. That's fine. Actually, let's leave it for now. I want to make sure that it gets done cleanly. The other thing is that session ID, we can actually put, if I pull this back in, put in context session here the same way. We can format that in to reinitialize the value. Okay, so that gives us the ability to put it right on in there as a string. It can actually be a number, but we'll do it as a string because it's going to have to be translated from a query string parameter anyway. Actually, no, it's JSON. Right. We're getting there, I promise. So we got data signals. We're going to get rid of these. Well, no. Get rid of that one, at least. So that will pre-populate the session ID signal, which is part of the state of the page. Now, how much time we got? 30 minutes? Okay. So I need to change how I was handling the server, the session ID query param extraction. That also needs to use the same model as in routes, where I'm extracting the JSON from the query string param. So we have all this stuff here, which I'm feeling like that needs to be passed along in the context somehow, because we don't want to be digesting this every single time, for sure. In fact, we can avoid this entirely. See a goblin. So let's get rid of this, and then we're gonna pull. Wait. Context request URI query params. Cool. That's good. We're gonna take these out. We're gonna go over to server. We're gonna drop it in here. So we're pulling data star out of the query params. Change this to query params. We're decoding everything. I need to pull in the JSON module. What else? I think that's it, right? Okay, so we got the JSON module. We got everything else for URI. Session ID. I can pull that from the signals. Session ID, ref signals, and then I'll do the same thing as I did before. Or make session. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so now we should have pulled that out of the data star query parameter. Whenever this all loads up, you'll see what I mean. At least you should see what I mean. See you, Fade. Okay, so let's restart. I'm gonna reload the page. Actually, let's take this query param out too, because that's just gonna confuse everything. We'll restart the server one more time to get a clean output. Did I miss any errors? Unbound variable session ID that's in routes.scm session ID. Okay, so this needs to come from context session. And that only matters. Well, I guess in theory, there should always be a session ID. So we can kind of assume that. It's a little bit unsafe to assume that, but let's just assume it for now. Context session CTX. All right. Restart. Reload. Okay, so we got an error we'll deal with. URI decode, wrong argument in position 1. So what are we missing? There is no data star query param to start with. So in the first request, there won't be one. There won't be any signals. So how about this? And signals, okay? We're gonna make sure that we have signals first. So if there's no signals JSON, we can't decode anything either. Data star param. We're gonna have to do this first. This kind of needs to be an if let in some ways, but we're just gonna skip around a little bit. So, and data star param, then URI decode data star param. Okay, and then we're gonna just do the same thing here. I mean, I guess we could sort of just shortcut this whole process and not do the same thing again. So if we know we have the param, we're gonna URI decode it, and then we're gonna use JSON string to scheme. There we go. So then if we have signals, we're gonna pull session ID out of that. Otherwise, we're gonna make a session. And then we're gonna create the context off that. So let's reload again. And reload the page. Another error. Invalid name starting character. Where is that? I think there's something in the body. Oh, there it is. That's definitely wrong. Okay, so we're in the page. Getting some errors again, is making requests. It's probably not finding the session. Get session. Okay, it actually has a session, so get session. Let's see what it calls every time. Okay, so we do have the right session every time. The request that it's making has the right context. That's good. And it's not dependent on the page. So I think we do need that persist. Let me go back to views. And we're going to persist the signal for session ID so that if they reload the page, it will come back. But what problem did we actually have? So get session, we're passing the message to that. String to number, wrong type argument. Okay, so it's expecting a string but it's getting a number. I think it's because we're pulling an actual number out. So I think that's the problem here. So we're going to go back in the engine, and we're going to take the string to number out, because now that's no longer needed, because we're basically encoding the session ID as a number in a JSON blob. Cool. So the session ID is now being loaded. See that? So we got the same session ID every time. That's good news. I'll go back to server and let's see. We'll get that session ID out. Since we now know. Can I make a request like foo, goo, foo? Press enter. Okay, did I get an error? Okay, cool. Don't know how to send a message to what? False? Kill. Oh, come on. Kill it. There you go. What did I do wrong? Don't know how to send a message to false. Okay, so the session was not loaded up correctly. Ah. I think I need to go change the code in routes for the command handler. So for poll events, we've got session here. Let me just grab that full expression. And then handle command. Instead of all this goop we got here, we're just going to pull that straight out of command. Oh, sorry, out of session. Oh, actually, we need some of this. We'll kill that one. We'll kill that one too. We already got session. We do need commands. We're basically doing the same processing twice. Probably should find a way to pass that through. This is kind of like the... well, actually, did I add something for that? Context. Context extra. How about that? So for context extra, we could actually just stuff the signals in there. Let's do that. I'm going to pull context extra. Context. Get rid of that. And get rid of that. I knew I would need context extra one day. Terrible name, but it gets the job done. So in server.scm, this is the extra part right here. Signals is going to go in there, okay? So the signals for the request will go in there so that nobody else has to parse that JSON blob. It happens at one place and flows all the way down through the request handler. Restart. Unbound variable handle request. How's that? Oh, come on. Did I kill it? Okay, I killed it. Routes, I screwed it up. So check parens. Where is it? Probably messed up. Yeah, I messed up right there. Restart. Feels like events is being called too many times. Do I have more than one browser window open? All right, and I think the other problem here is that there is no session with that ID. Oh, did I do that somehow? Oh, right. Events, got it. Back in routes, there is a execute script call that I need to kill because I put that there thinking I needed it, but I don't really need it. Let's take that back out. The other thing, we need to make a session if the current session ID does not exist. So in server, I probably need to try to get the session. So session ID and signals or make session. Infreak says, dumb question, is WebFrame the bindings for Datastar? I came in late. It's basically a framework that I'm working on that uses Datastar, but it's some other stuff that's helpful for writing web applications in Guile. So it's just kind of a grab bag of stuff that is probably going to be necessary. It's not really very well polished. Obviously, I just kind of created it on the fly through some of the projects we're working on. So your mileage may vary. All right. I'm trying to think of the most reasonable way to create a session if the session ID that's being asked for is it doesn't exist. I think what needs to happen I need to break this in two. Potentially. I mean, I could do this. I could do the nested let, which is, I mean, it's not terrible. I'm not happy about it, but it's possible to do. So if not, no. If get session ID if not get session ID make session, otherwise return ID. Okay. I mean, that should handle it, right? So we pull the session ID out of the signals. If there isn't a session with that ID, if it returns false, then we make a new one. Otherwise, we return the ID. Or, I mean, I guess we could do it the opposite way and say, if there's a session for that ID, which feels wrong. Do we have to do that every single time? I mean, if we're already looking up the session, why not just pass the session through and not the session ID, so we don't have to actually look up the session in different places? I mean, I'm starting to think that's the way to do that here. Okay, so instead of the session ID being the thing, I think we're gonna have to do the session. And that's fine, that's not a big deal. So, session. So if there's a signal, wait, hold on. Or get session ID, make session. How about that? That's pretty clean, right? So and signals. Let's get rid of the let and the binding. And let's polish that up a little bit. And then here we're going to take session into account. All right, right there. So session ID and signals. So we got signals and we use the soak ref to get the session ID out. And then we either get the session for the ID or we make a session. And it doesn't matter what the ID is at that point. All right. Then back in routes where we look up the session, get session, we just say contact session at that point. We don't call get session again. All right, so let's reload. Unbound variable ID. Whoa, what is going on here? That's a mess. Server.scm unbound variable ID. 22? What? Server 22 ID session ID. Okay, fine. My mistake. Not a live reference. Let's go back. There's some mistake at the very beginning. So, from that, call with that. Engine.scm line something, like line 80 something. Let's go to engine. Not a lot. Oh, it's a number. Okay, so get session, session ID, not a live reference, get session, session ID. At which point in the code, it must be events. Okay, so in the event handling, the route for poll events, session, contact session, send message sync session. Okay. Not a live reference. And it has a number. Where's the number coming from? Because it should be session. Let me just restart again. I have no idea what just happened. In fact, let's get off the page. Let's restart the server fresh. Oh, okay. Make session returns a number. That's why. See you, Blinky. That explains it. So back in engine, make session, it returns the session ID and not the session itself. So I'm calling a session now. It was called player before. We're going to have to kind of modify our language a little bit. I think that's the problem. Okay, so localhost 8080. Doesn't seem to be calling into the server. There we go. Syntax error. Hash not followed by identifier. Where? Something in the page markup is choking it. Ah, local object player. Okay, got it. How are we going to get the session ID out of that? Let me think. It's a little bit dirty if I have to do it this way. I really like it. In views, to put the context session in there, sorry, to put the session ID in there, right now it's an actor. I mean, we would have to send a message to the actor to get it out. I'm not thrilled with that. Makes me want to wrap it in a record. But I don't even know if that's the right thing to do. So let's just continue on the path. Let's see. Where is player? I say, let's just do this. Get ID. In fact, that could just be a single line right there. Okay. And now that can return its session ID. In fact, I would probably just change the whole wording here from player to session. No dirtier than a nested let. It's not that bad. Handle player command. Okay, so I think we're good. Rolling back, pop in the stack. Pop in the stack here. What we needed to do is send a message synchronously to the session actor. So what we're going to do is go back into views. This is terrible. Send message to the session, get ID. Okay, that should work. Should work. Yeah, I don't like the fact that we need to call into the... yeah. Calling to the engine from here seems really not good. But it's okay, because we're... I mean... What the F? Come on. Oh. Send message sync, because it's returning a promise back. We don't want the promise. We want to synchronously return the value. Fine, 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 fine. There we go. Now we finally got events coming back through again. Can I type a command? Foo. All right, it didn't send it back to that session, though. It did seem to take the command, but it's not writing it back out. So we need to go and figure that part out. So, in engine, handle actor push event ID event, enter command. We're not getting any errors from that, so it seems like it's working. Wait, what? All right, everything's fine. So, handle command. Go back to routes, handle command. We pull the session out using context session, send message to session, handle command, command. Handle player command, this session ID command. ID, hold on. This session ID command. Okay, so handle player command should have worked. I don't know, let's throw an error, see what happens. I just want to see that it got to that point. Okay, I see something there. Okay. So when we went in here, it did actually get to this point. So push event into the session, push event and get events. Error events. I just want to see what's happening. Something weird is going on. Oh, actually, no, I don't want that right there. Okay, so we did get an error. Wait, did I not take the other error out? That's the only one. So we do get the push event. So let me do this one more time. And maybe if I go back to routes. Too tired to watch, Cal. Come on, man. We're almost finished with the stream. So send message sync. I want to see what events are coming out of here. And session, send message sync. So maybe I can do this instead. No, log info. Log info, events. Let's just restart it. No events. Still no events. Like, it's not pushing the events in. Hey, Alex. We'll see. I don't know. Not working out so great. We hit some snags in the beginning, unfortunately. And I'm gonna have to leave in like 4 minutes, so we got to figure out something here before that happens. Since we have the handle on the session, and the command is being sent in. Let's see what the page says. Okay, so it has a session ID in there. If I reload the page, there's another session ID that's in there. So we're getting the session back, the session ID back, which is a good sign, which means that the actor actually is spawned. So when we send in on routes, when we send in the command, we send it into the session, handle command, handle player command, this session ID command. We get to this part where we call into push event onto the actor, and we see for push event, let me just do that. So it gets there. What's in the error? Yeah. So it has the event list. It's in there. So what's going on? Why is it that pending events is different next time? Get events? That's so damn strange. It never comes out. It's like it doesn't get saved. Let's go back to, I mean, I don't think we're creating new sessions every time. If I were to inspect, we have a session ID here. It doesn't appear to be changing. All right. It definitely feels like there's something getting lost. And I'm not sure at what level it's happening. Because we're pushing onto pending events that is actually being set. That's on the instance of this session actor. Okay, so that should be inside of the instantiated session. We're setting pending events. We're causing the event on the front. The next time it comes through, it ought to be returned. Reverse pending events into events. We return events. That's get events. How about this? Right here, event. Sorry, error. Pending. No, I can't do that. When not empty or null, right? Null. Still doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Unless I broke something else. Which is entirely possible. I'm not seeing any errors, which means that no events are actually getting saved somehow. Okay, I'm gonna have to call it on this. Because I don't have time. I'm gonna have to probably figure this out off stream at some point just to get it unblocked before Monday. So the goal ultimately is to make sure that when a user goes to the page, a new session gets created for them so that they can create a character for their current session and then play the game. But you need a session so that the session can kind of handle the commands and send them to the player's entity, the associated entity, which is really the character that they create. Then once we have that, then the entity can be in a room, and then whenever things happen in the room, the session of the entity can then be notified, and then the event can come back to the client. So you can kind of see where the sort of flow of things goes. Thanks, Glenn. I don't know, like I kind of feel like I'm doing things in a weird way that is causing trouble. So this may be wrong. The way that I'm using goblins could be wrong entirely, but we're gonna figure it out as time goes on. Maybe I can get some feedback from Dave if he happens to see some of these, and we can improve the situation. But at least I feel like we, made a little bit of progress. It wasn't great progress. I would have hoped to have a bit more working, but it is what it is. I'll try to get this committed a little bit later after the stream, and then we'll get back to it on Monday on the Crafter Hour stream, Monday morning, at least Monday morning my time. So keep an eye out for that. I usually schedule it the night before, so there's at least 12 hours of time that you'll see the scheduling of the stream before it happens, and then you can check the recording afterward. But anyway, hope you enjoyed watching this ambling around in Scheme for a couple hours. Maybe it was interesting or enjoyable or informative somehow. If you liked it or you have any comments, please leave a comment on the stream video, or just come find us in the IRC. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great weekend. Until next time, happy hacking. See ya.